So a very warm welcome everyone to this special webinar, which is part of our free online webinar series for New Earth Rising, which we are doing to support also our wonderful partners at Unity Earth and the Hollow Movement as well, part of the global collaborative initiative of 99 Days of Peace Through Unity. And for today's webinar, we'll be taking a deep dive into the EARTHwise Constitution and also be hearing from the stewards of the EARTHwise Constitution, so that you really can start to see the collective wisdom that's emerging from that. My name is Anneloes Smitsman. I am the CEO and founder of EARTHwise and one of the lead architects of the EARTHwise Constitution. I am calling from Mauritius, which is a very small island. I mean, really, really small, like a tiny, tiny dot in the middle of the Indian Ocean and part of the African region. So that always gives me not just a southern perspective, but it also gives me an urgency perspective of why new constitutions and new governance systems are so incredibly important for our world and transformation. But many of people have probably read the news in the last weeks. The climate tipping points that many of scientists have warned for, well, they are in full swing right now. And they are in full swing because the way that we've been developing and growing our societies are not in harmony with the constitutions of life. So I just like to presence that first of all, that when I'm using the word constitution here, I'm actually referring to the deeper innate architecture of life and reality itself. And that is often not associated with the word constitution. My first interest in constitution was actually at law school a long time ago when I got a master's degree in constitutional international law from Leiden University. And then thought, no, being a lawyer is not my calling. So I went through a deep dive of personal transformation, and after that emerging out of that process through getting really fascinated by the evolutionary principles and capacities of living systems, and then obtained my doctorate as a systems scientist in transformational change, and actually then going back to my initial interest around constitutional design, but then really looking what are the intersections between the constitutional design of our universe, starting there really from the premise of the universe and consciousness. And then how can we from there bring that into being for the redesign of our mainstream institutions, the redesign of our governance systems, but also give people a really beautiful process and a framework for how we can take collective action for the necessary transformations. And at a time that when many people are losing hope and faith in our future, that this guideline, this compass, as I'll be guiding you through today, is actually giving us hope, is helping us to tap into our greater possibilities and our future human potential of the emerging new era. So you'll be hearing from me first through a slide presentation. I'll be sharing for the first 20 minutes or so, and then I'll be giving the talking stick to my wonderful stewards and colleagues and friends who are here with me from EARTHwise, and I will also leave some time for Q&A to be able to hear from all of your questions and from inputs. So let me bring up the slides first. So the EARTHwise Constitution for Planetary Civilization. So let me start there. I know that sounds hugely ambitious, like why would you take it on for a planetary civilization? But that's actually how big our commitment goes and what we believe in, and is based on the wisdom of living systems. And this is truly our gift to humanity. And what that practically means is that it is freely available for everyone to work with and adapt. And with adapt, I mean, yes, it is open source code. It's registered in a Creative Commons license, which actually means that you can change it. So this is not a constitution that you just have to endorse and sign and that's it, like with most of these charters and constitutions. No, this constitution serves to inspire you to take a constitutional approach to your own life. And with constitution meaning that what really is the deeper architecture of who I am, what's the deeper architecture also of my purpose in life, and is that actually aligned with my work in the world, with how I'm actualizing my purpose? So coming really from the foundational levels of what a constitution should be doing, because it provides the kind of meta level of our agreements and our intentions. And in that way, at the meta level, it then starts to serve as a compass for navigating through all of these changes, navigating also through our rite of passage, both personally as well as collectively. And we'll be having a look soon in how we're actually going to do that. We're very grateful that it's already been endorsed, the Constitution, by over 50 plus organizations who've also joined the EARTHwise Partnership Alliance for working together on the basis of the Constitution. And if your organization would like to join, you're most welcome. We meet several times a year to explore our synergies together and to see how we can support each other and truly bringing together our common capacities for the emerging new era, as well as a new and planetary civilization in harmony with life, in support of nature, in partnership with our beautiful planet. And it also serves the Constitution as a really wild new adventure that we've embarked on from EARTHwise, which is to co-create an EARTHwise game for civilizational transformation, especially to empower the younger generations with the tools and solutions that they need to make a meaningful difference in the world, and also empower their own lives and their own transformation journey. It also has been applied, the compass design from the Constitution has been applied for the making of the Hypha DAO and Stewards DAO constitutional design, and I'll give you a very brief view into that a little bit further on. It's available in many different languages. More are coming. English and Spanish already. German has been finished translation thanks to Dagmar, who is also here. The French translation is also finished, but I just need to update them into the official formats, but just know that will be coming soon, and Japanese and Dutch is in process. So very briefly, when I was presenting before, that living systems is our foundation at EARTHwise, hence the name EARTHwise, to become wise like our Earth. And that means that at EARTHwise, we always start from there, that the architecture, the constitutions of living systems, they are innate from our universe itself. And the universe is not something that we live in, it's who we all are. Just like consciousness is not something that we have, but it's who we all are. And we apply that then in the way that we facilitate and create design for constitutions, leadership, governance, science, game and quest, new economies, etc., and as well as storytelling and movement building. And here is the promise that we're living by, all of us who've endorsed this constitution, that we, as future ancestors of a planetary civilization, commit to co-creating thrivable worlds and futures with the wisdom of living systems in partnership with life and our Earth. And that's actually such a beautiful promise to even begin your day with, that you can put it in your own personal form as you start your day. I, as a future ancestor of a planetary civilization, commit to co-creating thrivable worlds and futures with the wisdom of living systems in partnership with life and our Earth. So that's our compass. That's what we focused on. In the spirit of time, I'm not going to go through the vision completely here, but I just want to presence that it's all about that transition to becoming a planetary civilization, and that is much more than just a human civilization. And when we really recognize that we are members of a planetary civilization, then we start to come into right relationship with all of life. And that also means all of the non-human communities that are also holding us, that are also stewarding our evolution, and we are part of theirs. And only then can we start to co-create truly thrivable communities of life as wise and joyful and loving partners of our Earth. And how we see our purpose here as these future ancestors is to steward and actualize the possibilities for thrivable worlds and futures by co-creating the capacities and the systems and the governance and the tools and the pathways for a planetary civilization. And that begins within. That begins by all of the steps and actions that we can each take, and all of us are empowered in doing so. That to me it's life-given, and it can begin as simple as the way that you You live who you are, knowing that your consciousness is always part of the greater consciousness of life itself. And this is our compass as our living systems protocols when we are working with new design for governance systems, economic systems, or even games, or when we want to assess ourselves, what are our impacts? How do we prioritize? How do we make our collective decisions together? How do we align also our collective intelligence and wisdom? Then this is the guideline that we are going through, that we're living by, which you can also apply and utilize for your own personal transformation journey, which all begins by acting from that unitive consciousness that I shared a little bit earlier, also in the vision of what it means to be a member of a planetary civilization. And from that comes the understanding then to create from wholeness and not from duality, because that's what's been mainstreamed to a lot of the democratic systems and political systems that are still dominating our world. Many of them are by design dualistic win-lose systems. So what we're saying here is no. Our commitment is to create from wholeness, and also that we honor systemic boundaries and cycles. And what this means is understanding that we are living on a finite planet. Our consciousness might be infinite, but our physical reality, we need to really honor also that Mother Earth, she has a beginning and she also has an ending, and let's make sure that we are not accelerating that ending through our harmful impacts. So there are planetary and social carrying capacities. These are boundaries, systemic boundaries that we need to honor. And when we do so, then we learn how to grow our freedoms as an evolutionary process, rather than thinking about your freedom simply as a right. And that's when we start to evolve through conscious choice making and empowered participation, and activating our futures as evolutionary tractors. I won't be going through all of them. I encourage you to read that through the Constitution itself, either on the website or by downloading the PDF. Just want to present that the last step is really about becoming EARTHwise. And some of you have been part of our launch event for this free webinar series, which was centered around the EARTHwise Pledges for new Earth Rising, EARTHwise Pledges for Planetary Civilization. And that is based on Article 7 of the EARTHwise Constitution, where we express our commitments that serve really as our personal and collective pledges as a quest for co-creating thrivable worlds and futures, which we're also gamifying now through the EARTHwise game for civilizational transformation, of which you're going to be hearing a lot more by the end of the year and next year. We are now in the prototype development, and we've shared a few hints already, but I just want to bring you here now first to the EARTHwise Pledges, which you can use, again, just as a framework even for yourself, to remind yourself, where am I on my journey? Which begins with answering the call of your future human potential of the emerging new era. And you'll see here in these pledges that it has a quadrant structure that you go through. And the first quadrant is all about answering that call, answering the call of your potential, answering the call of life, answering the call of the nature of the change that we're in. The second quadrant is about stewarding for thrivability, our pledges to do that together. And the third one is about upgrading, how we play the game of life. And that's really important, because if we're looking at the game dynamics of mainstream economic and political systems, then that's a game that leads to collapse. It's actually an extinction game. And it's time we change that. It's time that we change and upgrade how we play the game of life by playing the game of life for collective thriving. And that brings me to the fourth quadrant then in that is becoming the new worlds. Now, if you're going through our EARTHwise Pledges landing page, and maybe some of the stewards can put that in the chat, you'll find that each of these 16 pledges that you see here have been worked out further with a commitment you can take, with an ID for an inspiration for an action that you can make, with beautiful images that also are part of the game architecture. So I'd recommend taking your time with that, going through that. And you can also, what's really beautiful, if you work with that, these pledges, for example, for dialogue circles, in group conversations, for movement building, for exploring partnerships. It's a beautiful way to really be working together. And you'll see here that the pledges then also are the outer circle of the compass, where you see this 16 golden dots, which are bringing forth our greater transformation. So what I want to share with you now is, rather than going in depth to the Constitution itself, I want to make this really meaningful for you, how you can work with the compass. Because I think this is really where the value is, where you go beyond just reading this as an inspirational document, but when you can start to work with it in your own life. So first of all, every coordinate that you're seeing here on this compass, and there's a sacred geometry all behind that, every coordinate is always an article in any of the constitutions that we are designing or co-designing. And also that unfolds then our personal collective transformation. So when we're working with it in constitutional design, then that we working with the compass and the unfolding of the compass, what it's pointing to, and then the compass rose, as well as in the way that it unfolds through the 4 arms. We work with that as an architecture of 7 articles for a constitution, which can be for an organization, can be for your movement, for a platform, can be for new technology, lots of ways in which you can work with that. And when we're working it to design transformational learning journeys, which can be for yourself personally or collectively, then we work with it as 7 steps. And in the game design, we are applying these as 7 main quests, within which there are many little sub-quests and tasks and challenges. And here is an example of how you can then work with that. So as an overarching architecture, and you'll see here in the constitutional compass design how it unfolds from this tiny little dot, remembering that our universe began as a tiny little dot. And we began as little tiny dots, tiny little pixels of this beautiful consciousness that we all are. So tiny little pixels of unity, pixels of wholeness. And that's in the compass rose. That's really in the center. That's also where you find your purpose. And that little pixel starts to then unfold as a spiral of life. That's an evolutionary spiral. And it creates its own boundary conditions for autonomy. It creates its boundary conditions for individuated, self-aware consciousness, so it can start to actualize that beautiful pixel potential that we have. And that's when it then unfolds through this infinity circle, so it's bringing in, weaving together the non-local and local dimensions of life. And they are actually designed, you can't see that here, but if you were to zoom in, this infinity is designed as a DNA. So it's also the spiral of the DNA. And out of that comes then the compass rose that now has the Trinity at the center. That's really important. So when we are going into more complexity or diversification, the way that we're expanding that as an evolutionary learning journey is then activated through a trinity rather than a duality, which is that little dot, the spiral, and its sacred boundary. And that unfolds and also through these different worlds. So for constitutional and organizational design, when we're working with that to support people to create their constitution on the basis of the compass, we'll be facilitating sessions to explore what is our vision really within this larger context of a planetary civilization. How do we see our unique purpose and contribution to that? What are our core principles? And that is these 3 laws of life that I just mentioned about unity, change, and balance, that little dot, the spiral, and the circle. We'll work then with our archetypes for Constitution. What are the archetypes? Really the operational systems of your organization, and also the archetypal patterns by which you have made a commitment to grow and evolve. What are your 8 values for inner and for outer values? What are your living systems protocols for guiding how you actualize your purpose, but also guiding for the impacts that you are creating? and how you're giving back to life. And then what are Article 7? What are then also your commitments? So that's when we're working with this compass really applied to creating constitutions for new technologies, new governance systems, organizations themselves, or even AI. You'll be hearing about more of that in the coming week. And then if we're applying this now in personal transformation journeys or educational learning journeys, also for collective transformation, Quest, for example, then we work with it as 7 steps. First step is really connect with your future human potential and activating your evolutionary purpose for the new era. And if you're doing this together with others, you can work with that. How do we do that? How do we activate that really together? And that's when you're in the center of the compass now, exploring the 3 laws of life, the law of unity, the law of change, and the law of balance. And that's actually articulated in the Constitution itself based on a reinterpretation of the 3 laws of thermodynamics as laws of informational dynamics, which is also inspired by the work of a wonderful friend and cosmologist and healer, Dr. Jude Carfan. So if you go to the Constitution, you can learn more about that too. And then the 4th step, actualizing your potential with the 5 future archetypes that are part of the Constitution. I'd really recommend to read those because there's some beautiful quotes in that and new evolutionary patterns. And then going further in exploring what are really my 8 core values for my inner and my outer development. And reflecting on what are my 13 guiding principles for living my purpose and creating your 16 commitments for a thrivable world that you can also then use the 16 EARTHwise Pledges for, to really inspire you to reflect on that and to embark that as a quest for yourself and to check in with yourself. Where am I? Where's my next stage of growth? What's the next step that I can make? Now, here's an example where with Hypha, Hypha is a technology provider of technology tools and services for what's called DAOs. These are decentralized autonomous organizations using blockchain technologies. In short, what that means is Hypha came into being to provide solutions for the enormous coordination challenges that are in mainstream governance systems by really empowering people around the world with ways to have a say in the decisions that are being made and to also create a new what we call tokenomics, token-based value contribution flows for empowering everyone who's contributing to the great transformations. So Hypha, the Hypha DAO Constitution was developed from the compass of the EARTHwise Constitution. And here's just to give you one example of how that would look like in real life as a case study when we start applying this. So you'll see here that Article 6.3 in the Hypha DAO Constitution at the meta level honors systemic boundaries and cycles. It's the same wording as in the EARTHwise Constitution, as is the same at 6.4. But now the way that that is applied and articulated for what's really specific to Hypha, that is then unique. So Hypha is saying we're honoring how living systems are self-organizing systems that grow and mature through circulatory flows, metabolic process, etc. That part is similar as in the EARTHwise Constitution, but then they make it now really unique to say we design our DAOs as self-organizing systems that can be programmed to cohere with planetary boundaries, social ceilings, and cyclical value flows. And the same way also with Article 6.4, when they are saying we are applying that principle by designing DAOs as societal systems that empower freedom ecosystemically. Now, I know there's a lot of words in here that may sound like jargon to some, but I just want to present this as one case study example of how this can be applied. For example, also in Article 7, which is about the pledges and our commitments, what the Hypha members have voted on is that we are applying the wisdom of living systems as our compass for collective thriving, which is now applied also in the way that Hypha is growing itself further, and also is applying that wisdom of living systems in the architecture for the design and operations of their DAOs. And then through that, They're making their contribution also to the evolution of human societies, actualizing our potential and contributing our purpose as culture makers for the greater good and as responsible and wise future ancestors. So the Hypha DAO technology is now also applied for the game that we are developing. And that's when you can start to see how now the architecture of these living systems starts to create an alignment when it comes to the way we are approaching our personal collective transformation journeys, designed for new governance and economic systems, and then also applying this all the way in the technologies that we are using to develop these new governance systems. Next week, I'll be sharing some announcements of how we are even going to be applying that in the AI integrations. And then finally, I'd like to share with you, and I think that's really quite exciting, how the 5 future archetypes that are part of the EARTHwise Constitution, which we've called there the wholeness coder and the future creative, the evolutionary catalyst, pattern weaver, a new paradigm storyteller, are serving as the meta category for the way that the transformative characters are emerging in the EARTHwise game. And in the game, what we've called them is the quantum coders of the new era. And when you're playing that character, for example, you will have a cosmic hacker device that you can use to upgrade the harmful systems of what we call Moloch, which is the Moloch game is the game that leads to collapse and extinction. You will also be able to have your compass vision. You'll be able to see at a level of the codes. If you're working as if you're playing with the powers of the future wizards of the imaginal realm, you'll even have your staff, your magical staff that you can use to open the portals to the future, to the imaginal realm, to bring in the powers of these new evolutionary potentials and your dial of destiny, so that you can actually help change and shift the timelines. If you're playing with the powers of the evolutionary alchemist of world transformation, you'll have your beautiful crown of the Trinity that helps you to see through all the entrapments of duality, and you'll be able to bring forth the great power of the fire of alchemy. So that is a fire that doesn't harm, but that transforms. If you are bringing in and playing with the powers of the pattern weavers of new possibilities, you're deeply connected with the root wisdom of the plants and the trees, and bringing up the power of the mycelium networks. And with your antlers, you'll be able to bring in the wisdom of the great deer, and really working with the wisdom of nature to help bring in these new evolutionary patterns. And one of my favorite characters, if you're playing this game with the powers of the story spellers of new legends, and you're wearing your mythic glasses, you will start to see the hidden guardians in the game, such as the unicorn, the cosmic serpent, the cosmic dragon, the great whale, the great owl, and the great deer. So that's just to let you know that there are really infinite possibilities in how we can work with this inspiration from living systems and the compass from the Constitution for catalyzing personal and collective transformation. So with that, I would like to make the space now for my stewards. And Stephen, I would love to bring you here with me first.
Well, greetings from France to everyone on the call. Wonderful to be with you. Yeah, I'll just tell a little bit about how I am so enthusiastic about the Constitution, because it's really a wonderful tool. So we're in the midst of a historic existential meta polycrisis. I don't think that I have to explain the aspects and particulars to anyone on this call. It's pretty much a given. Indeed, we're facing an accelerating, exponential, technological, but also financially driven change, which on balance is making us worse off rather than better off. The world of finance and technology largely, if not entirely, determine the course and destiny that comes at the expense rather than the care of life. So we're basically urgently called upon to be responsible stewards, to reciprocate the gift of life, and to deeply respect all our relations. So much of that is not quite happening yet. So humanity is at a very important choice point to radically reorganize and reprogram itself, and to hard code human enterprise with intelligence and wisdom from the inside out. So with the AI genie out of the bottle, humanity has a quickly narrowing window of opportunity to break through rather than break down. The question really that lingers here is, will AI, AGI, and super AI have a heart that we can call upon? So my message is this for this evening or afternoon or morning, wherever you are. To grow a permaculture of peace and unity in harmony with life, you need a compass with heart intelligence inside. So do not leave or try to find home or your destiny path without it. The EARTHwise Constitution provides an inspiring true north fractal cosmic compass inspired by truth, trust, love, and celebrates the beauty of life. The EARTHwise game invites us all to plug in, play, and transform the very game of life, assisted by AI, integrating the principles and pledges of the Constitution. A key to our success as planetary stewards will be to ensure profits of our human enterprise serve the purpose of life, as opposed to life and our lives being dedicated to the purpose of profit at our own peril. So let the great game begin. Do what you can and must, and empower a global giving spiral of life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephen. That is wonderful. I'm going to bring here Carmen.
Well, hello, everybody. Well, that was a beautiful presentation, Anneloes. And I am so thrilled to be with all of you today. We've got 43 people here, and yeah, this is, the movement is being activated, and I can feel it. All right, guys, so I'm here to talk about the case study called Transcendent Financial Planning, which is a case study of the EARTHwise Constitution. And I think you made me co-host. Can I?
That's right. And you can share, because there's multiple shares.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Just give me a second, please. I thought I had it here, but I lost it. Just give me 1 second. Okay, right here. All right. Okay, here you go. Just want to quickly just so that you can absorb here the water in this header and the title of this project, Transcendent Financial Planning, and the header, which pretty much says what we're up to here, which is we want to create universal access to a new personal financial planning paradigm. And in doing so, shift the economic paradigm from the bottom, from the ground up. And the same way we say we are the change that we are seeking in the world, we are saying we are the new economy in the service of life that we are seeking to see in the world. And on this page, I'm just going to quickly go to the vision and mission and then get into the Constitution. Let's see, and here. So our vision is all humanity as one thriving and living a transcendent financial life. And a transcendent financial life is a life where we take care in a responsible way, in a wise way, in an intelligent fashion, of our own well-being, our holistic well-being. And our holistic well-being includes everything, which means it also includes finances, includes the money in our lives and our relationship with it. And then with this transcendent financial life, we are empowered to move forward and co-create the new planetary civilization as stewards of such. Okay, and the way we do that is with agency, individual agency, by offering our unique transcendent, self-directed financial planning system. How else can we create universal access to this new way of managing our money if it's not through a self-directed system? And in this way, with the system, we will empower everybody, every person, to design and manifest their own transcendent financial life, regardless of economic status, race, nationality, gender, sexual orientation. I like to say that this is an ethical spiritual business, which means here we dismantle the myth of separation, and it is based on unity consciousness. Okay, now, with regard to the Constitution, we're looking at, as an organization, we're looking at applying the Constitution as an organization in our design, and also because we're bringing people, future humans, and creating a global movement with future humans. Then these members of transcendent financial life, financial planning, which will be members of our organization, will then be applying the Constitution from the perspective of personal and collective transformation, just as Anneloes was expressing right now, a minute ago. As an organization, strictly, I'm looking at the values of courage, empowerment, empowered participation, which is also a principle of regenerative economics. And this is super, super important value in our company. Courage, trust to know that this was something that really moved me in the Future of Humans course with Anneloes, where really she touched on trust, the value of trust, which is to know that we, on a moment-to-moment basis, have everything, all of the resources that we need to create this life that we're looking to create. In this case, our transcendent financial life. Another value is love, because we're looking at our own, at the well-being of all, which includes ourselves and starts with ourselves. Commitment as a value, and wisdom. In terms of the archetypes at the organizational level, we're focusing on future creatives, expanding future possibilities, wholeness, the wholeness coder, because we are a new system and we're bringing a new financial planning system to the world, and new paradigm storyteller, because we are creating or sharing a new story around money and how money moves in our lives and how we can use it, how we consume it, how we save it, how we gift it, how we invest it, all for the benefit of our own well-being and the benefit of all life. In terms of living systems protocols, we're focusing on create from wholeness, evolving through conscious choice and empowered participation, okay? Contributing as a future ancestor, and investing in the fertility and abundance of life. These are the living system protocols that we're going to focus on as an organization in Transcendent. And regarding the 16 commitments, which I want to say, Anneloes, for a second, that it was during the Future of Humans Quest course, when you introduced, it was a very transforming experience, the whole course, and I encourage every single person here to take the course. But when you got to the commitments, I was just like floored. I was like completely blown away. And it was the 16 commitments when you presented them in the course that is the reason why I am here today as a steward of this Constitution. and as a supporter of EARTHwise. And regarding the commitments, we're looking at answering the call of our future human potential, focusing on number 3, investing in our thrivability and the expansion of human consciousness, which starts with our own consciousness. Number 4, commitment number 4, contribute our talents, passion, love, and wisdom for the necessary actions as we move forward. Okay. Then we go to stewarding for thrivability, commitment number 8, acting as stewards for becoming the future humans. And then we continue with commitment number 13 and number 14, which is letting go of systems that don't work and opting for systems that do support all of life. And that's what we're doing here in Transcendent with our own personal financial planning system. And ending with commitment number 16, this is again at the organizational level, with becoming the worlds and futures we wish to live and experience. And that is how we are looking at it as an organization, at the application of the Constitution to everything that we are doing. Thank you.
So much, Carmen. That's really, really wonderful. And then I will bring Janice here.
Hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone everywhere. I am an enthusiastic steward of the Constitution because I see it as a box full of tools that help us all individually find our authentic self and synergize the unitive narrative that we're all talking about into action and collective manifestation, because it's based on radical collaboration. It's about supporting living systems and system boundaries and cycles, as Anneloes said. And one of my particular areas of interest and support of the Constitution is working with Indigenous peoples. And as you see, I'm going to duck down here for a minute as you view this incredible piece of artwork done by Uncle Lewis Walker, who is a Bundjalung man and outside of Byron Bay in the bush country, who is a Nunkari, a medicine man. He's the one they call on when they want to make it rain. But here he is sitting communing with nature and the cockatoo, and recognizing that, as many Native peoples do, as all the two of them, they live and breathe this way, supporting living systems, system boundaries, and cycles. They know they are of the earth, not separate from it. They are part of the living systems and systemic boundaries and cycles. And we know that Indigenous people hold 80% of the biodiversity on the planet. And that's because they don't believe they own land. You know, initially they were flabbergasted when the colonials came in to own land, because they are so one with the land that they consider themselves stewards and custodians. And I've always considered myself an environmental steward, but until I started working with Native American, South American, Fijian, African, and Australian Indigenous people, I realized I knew very little about truly being a custodian. And they are the way showers. They're rising. And we need to be, as they call me, you know, the rainbow person, the person that, or the hallway, because that's my last name. But we all need to look to learning more about Indigenous cultures and how we can adopt and some of these cultural and ancestral tools to help us develop this new earth. And they need support in meeting each other, because one of the things, as I say every single time, that surprises me is that many of them have been holding their ancestral prophecies close to the heart and close to their culture, but they're being told by their ancestors in real time to release it now, in the now. And so many of their prophecies are very similar to each other. I encourage all of us to listen to our ancestors as well. they are the light keepers and the keepers of wisdom that can provide us tools to work with, the intelligence of our future selves. So that doesn't mean that we negate the technology of today or AI. We just want to be able to integrate the ancestral knowledge with the knowledge of our future selves. And I'm really interested and have been studying a bit the matrilineal tribes. And I found that there are 62 of them around the world. I have been involved with a group called the Cosmic Madonna Group based on a painting that surfaced by Salvador Dali. And it's really about the dissolving of the patriarchal and the emerging of the feminine matriarchal in each and every one of us. It's not man against women. But in today's world, I think there are 6 active cultures around the world. And in particular, I've been looking at the Haida culture because my friend Duncan Campbell is married to a Cree Haida woman in Canada. And their culture is a gifting culture. And this fits so beautifully in with the Constitution, I believe. And they have what's called the potlatch, which is function to redistribute wealth and their valuable goods it's all collected by the chiefs and the women leaders and then redistributed at times of ceremony, at times of disaster and need, everything from blankets and clothing and canoes and food and all kinds of prestige items. And so really, this is really, and the women are the ones that do the gifting. And again, my friend Duncan reminds me, he was supposed to be here today, but the first thing we see when we are born is the maternal gaze. The next thing we see is a woman's breast, giving, nurturing from the early arrival. The mother is the font of nurturing and gift giving. And so that caring and kindness is built into the feminine perspective. And I think that it's important that we look at this caring and kindness as an underlying tenet of how we move forward in the world. And being brief, I'll just say that we all must act as the mycelium networks, and we must actively connect what we know with who we know, and keep our ears to the ground and learn that we can't save nature. Learn that it's not up to us to save nature. We need to listen to nature. We need to listen to what she has to say and use those tools that she gives us. Water is the oldest living entity on the planet. So I encourage us to listen to what nature and the indigenous have to tell us as we all look to the EARTHwise Constitution and find the place in it that helps support your authentic self so that you find your place in the ecosystem of the new earth, because there is a place for each and every one of us, and no place is too small. So no one is too small. So with that, I'll pass it on.
Thank you so much, Janice, for your beautiful and profound wisdom. And that's a beautiful time and rainbow bridge for actually going to Laura. I'll ask the rest of the stewards just to share a little bit more briefly for the sake of time. So we still have also, just a few minutes. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm really happy to be with everyone today. I'm a new steward for the EARTHwise Constitution, and I couldn't be more excited to be involved with this project. I've actually been involved with the Earth Federation movement for over a decade. And for those of you who don't know, this movement actually started the minute the United Nations went sideways. It's based on nation states with territorial rather than planetary goals. The Security Council makes it non-democratic. So this is really important that many people are working on Earth Federation. And I think Anneloes' approach is the most sophisticated one I have seen. So I'm very happy to be involved. wanted to mention how we sort of play into the Constitution. I am the executive director of the Oracle Institute, and our headquarters is the Peace Pentagon behind me. And the reason this building is five-sided, in fact, there's a pentagon, the chapel is pentagonal as well, so it's a pentagon inside of a pentagon, is because we are entering what the indigenous have called the fifth world. The Hopi in particular use that terminology. Some of the spiritualists before us, Madame Blavatsky, Edgar Cayce, Walter Russell, called it the fifth age of man. And we here at Oracle called it the fifth paradigm. And briefly, the first paradigm was primordial oneness before the Big Bang. The very first belief system, however, that we crafted, we call that the second paradigm, and that was pretty much universally a belief in the Great Mother. The third paradigm, humans didn't seem sophisticated enough yet to envision a genderful deity, so we broke into a polytheistic era that lasted about 5,000 years. And where we've been stuck for the last 2,000 years is the fourth paradigm, where the Abrahamic religions sort of brought us back to the truth of monotheism, however, again, weren't sophisticated enough to envision the Godhead that most of us see now, and that is the fifth paradigm God. And for us, yes, Janice was very much intimating what this new belief system is all about, and it's about getting the Godhead in balance, understanding masculine and feminine principles, understanding that the Godhead can be viewed as genderful or genderless, and more people are going with the genderless concept these days. And so this building is a temple, a tool, it's also a conference center, but on a mystical level, we built this totally to support this nascent fifth paradigm that we're moving into. And I'll conclude by just saying, learned so much from the books that Anneloes wrote, loving the 5 future archetypes, because I agree with her that the old archetypes aren't going to get us into the fifth paradigm. And I just want to briefly mention that she's going to be here at the end of September doing a future human intensive with her husband, Kurt Barnes. And I'll put the link in the chat because I'm hoping some of you can join us. There's a few seats left. And I would love you to visit us in the Virginia Highlands. That happens to be the oldest river in the Western Hemisphere behind me. It was completely misnamed the New River. And you couldn't ask for a more sacred and holistic spot to help birth the new world, what we call the fifth paradigm. So Om Jai, and Anneloes, back to you.
Thank you so much, Laura, and I can't wait to actually be with you again. Yeah, very soon indeed, hoping everyone to join us. Arabella, over to you now. Thank you, Laura.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Anneloes, for your amazing presentation, for all that you do, and for all the amazing EARTHwise stewards for sharing their knowledge, wisdom, and expertise. I'm just so honored, so grateful to be a part of this organization and to be living at this time in human history on the planet, because this is the greatest quantum evolutionary shift that, has happened for many, many thousands of years. We can say that safely. So a little about me. I'm doing a PhD currently right now in philosophy, cosmology, and consciousness. The specific focus of my PhD is on time, specifically my argument for retrocausal hyperdimensional time. And Anneloes and I connected over this. We were speaking a lot about the future and this concept of really a telos, a purpose, a magnetic attractor or a force pulling us forward from the future. And this level of consciousness, which the EARTHwise Constitution represents and embodies, fully coming forth into this present moment, in this space-time continuum, to pull us forward to this future civilization that we all know in our hearts is possible. I didn't prepare anything to say today because I really just wanted to speak from the heart. But in terms of what I'm really passionate about is beauty, is aesthetics. Anneloes, I noted that when you first started speaking, you spoke about architecture. This is architecting. I was very drawn to you and your skill set and what this is about because of the system science and the architecture, the scaffolding of consciousness. So actually, throughout the presentation, when you were talking, I just looked up the etymology. As a literary graduate, I also love to really look at the roots of words, the origin of words and their meaning. And I found out that it comes from the Greek architecton, which means master builder, director of works, and the suffix tekton comes from builder, carpenter, which comes from tex, a Proto-Indo-European suffix, which means to weave, to fabricate. So then I realized, oh, that's where the Latin textere, to weave, comes from also, which is where we get the word text. Textile, like fabrics, and then also the literary text. So that's my segue into my invitation to all of you here to really consider the perception of this cosmos as an intrinsically aesthetic cosmos, i.e. beauty is innate. It's not superimposed by our consciousness. It is the ground of being. It is the ground of being. It is the truth and the reason. And this is a magnificent cosmic symphony unfolding in multiple dimensions. It is a cosmic tapestry, and we are each threads of this tapestry weaving together an artwork, a new story. It is poetic, it is archetypal, it is high drama, it is Shakespearean, it is epic, it is an adventure quest, and we're part of it. And it's despite the suffering and the challenges and the pain, because as you all know, also life can be incredibly difficult, right? And there is a lot of suffering right now on this planet that does not need to exist. Our quest and the beauty of the journey is the building, is the emergence, is the collaboration, is the healing, is the evolution. And it's incredibly beautiful. And I'll just finish on this. What is beauty? Well, in the words of John Keats, truth, beauty, beauty, truth, that is all ye know on earth and all you need to know. Beauty is the truth. It is the highest good. It is the highest justice, as said Plato, and I fully agree. I advocate and urge us as a collective to use beauty as a guide, as a guiding tenet in the organization and architecture of this future civilization, because beauty is founded on harmony, is it not? And unity. I know personally, I just spent 10 weeks in Italy walking around Rome, right? Walking around these Italian cities, this, the incorporation of the Fibonacci sequence into architecture. Despite what I was going through in my personal life, I looked at this architectural beauty and I knew that everything was okay and that somehow it made sense. So what I'm bringing forth to this constitution is a deep enthusiasm, which means entheos, God inside of you, enthusiasm for beauty, and how we can best disseminate that and configure this on the planet. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your passion too. And Alexander, that's a beautiful place to weave for you.
Isn't it? My goodness, I've been trying to capture some of the essence of what everyone has been saying in the chats here, but I think I want to start by almost kind of reassuring myself and all of us that this EARTHwise Constitution, this game also that we have been talking about, the EARTHwise game, there is a patterning here. Arabella was speaking to this, actually all of the people were speaking to this, and there's a patterning here that is really that listening into the beauty that Arabella was just talking about, that fundamental patterning of coherence and emergence in the universe, what Stephen began with in talking about how we can grow a permaculture of peace and unity and harmony, and what it's in a way it's not fair to say what Anneloes has done, because yes, Anneloes is kind of coalescing all of this, but she's tapping into so much more than is just her. She's tapping into all of us, and she's tapping into what is emerging, and so this is the reassurance that I want to give also to myself, is that there's a degree of complexity here. When you look at the Constitution, when you look at even the compass, when you look at all, it may seem, wow, how am I supposed to understand all of this? But to trust into that, there is a simplicity in it as well. And that simplicity in the complexity is what is tremendously powerful. There's no need to try to get it all. Anneloes has done her dissertation on this. I mean, so to have to, like, don't need to do your dissertation, and none of us need to, but to listen into the patternings here and to let it enliven us, that I think is where the deepest strength and power of what this is. So, for example, the game. I mean, that's something we can jump in with both feet right away. You don't need to, like, okay, let me get the architecture of all of this and understand the theoretical and epistemological and axiological underpinnings. It has been worked out. Does that mean this is the answer? No. It means that it's open source and that we can all contribute to the emerging answer. That's what's particularly cool about this. It's coming quite at the right time, as Stephen was saying at the beginning, as all of the commentators have said. So let me mention just a few things that I think for me are key in this. This is about curating the conditions for the emergence of a thrivable civilization. Not just a thrivable civilization. It's about curating the conditions of a thrivable planet. As planetizens, as some organizations talk about it. It's a new and emerging concept, but it's also as old as our sense of collective being is. We can't engineer this, but we can become gardeners of this potential, of these conditions. And that is the play space. This is where, again, if you're coming into your garden as an engineer and you're starting to graft your plants together, you're not going to create a living, thriving ecosystem. And that's the difference between the ecosystem and the network. Not all networks are living. All ecosystems are living. And so to nurture them, to be able to feed them, and to find ways in which these ecosystems feed us, this is the basis of the evolutionary learning ecosystem that is fostered by the EARTHwise Constitution. And indeed, as Anneloes said at the beginning, it's about becoming EARTHwise. That is us. That is each of us being not this organization, not the Constitution, not being anything, but being in our way of being in love with this life, in love with our future potential, in love with the vision of possibility. This is what I see as this path dancing, where we are path dancing. We're not walking the talk. We're not trying to live the walk even by some kind of priestly way of being in solemn rectitude with the carrying capacities of our planet. This has to express joy. It has to be a celebration. And at the same time, it is about facing the challenges. And that's the challenge of our time, the polycrisis that Stephen was talking about. It's not about just saying, oh, let's hold hand on the beach and let's all sing Kumbaya and everything will be fine. There is this polycrisis and we are in it actually now. How to engage with that, with the wisdom that Janice was talking about from the ancient cultures as well, that is with us now. This, I think, is captured very much by the whole Constitution and then put into play, quite literally, into play with the game. So the invitation is for us to connect, to collectively play and engage, to evolve this whole play, because it is something that is not meant for any one architect. So Anneloes has created a scaffolding, but it's for all of us to co-create and co-design. That's the beauty of the distributed autonomous organization, the DAO, that we're also giving life to this whole dynamic through. So I think that's it. I wanted to share those main things. In the end, the EARTHwise call is a call for interbeing. It's a call for interdancing. It's a call for that beauty that Arabella was talking about, that patterning of joy and of celebration of life. And at the same time, a recognition that this is serious, that we have challenges now that we must face, the Moloch challenges that we must face together. We got it. This is where we're going. I love it. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Alexander. incredible with this uplifting message and your wisdom. Always amazing. I just want to see if Hagar, would you be willing to share a little bit? Thank you again.
Okay, thank you so much, Anneloes. I would very much like to share a little bit. I'm so honored to be among the stewards. I must start by saying that. And I'm so amazed by all of you, really, and all what you bring to this game of life. And what I like to bring is the invitation, really, to make it small. Don't complicate it. Start within. Start by reading the Constitution carefully and listen to where it resonates within you. And invite in every sentence and every article and every value and see, how can I embody this? What will it, how will it look coming through me when I embody this? And how will it impact my relationships? And I think that, in my experience at least, when we read such inspirational documents, we get inspired to talk about it and to tell other people about it. And it's easy to forget that the most important thing is to bring it inwards and inwardly, and let the inspirational messages in the document inspire the transformation in you. And through that embodying, you start the ripple effects. So, okay, that was what I would
That is perfect.
like to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That is so true. So true. Liz, would you be willing to share some of your beautiful wisdom here?
Wow, this is a tough act to follow, huh? So I am honored to be here. I'll share briefly as well. So much that has been said is right on target, and that is just say yes in whatever way you can at this moment. I know sometimes it can be somewhat intimidating to be in a group that seems like they're doing so much already and wondering, where do I even begin? And I'm a relatively new steward, and I'll tell you very briefly how I got involved. I've been friends and colleagues with Anneloes for a number of years and wasn't sure how to engage. And then recently an opportunity arose and I took it. And what I want to say is, I love some of the points that have been made, that this is a constitution of life and reality. It is a compass to help us navigate what we're all going through individually and collectively. And what Anneloes has done for us is she has created this foundation that we can all use for co-creating our new earth. It is a collective action we're taking. And this is what we need, is just guideposts, someplace to begin, right? It's free to access, which is amazing, right? It's something we can all adopt just right now, regardless of where we are, what mission we're working on, what our purpose is. The purpose is to restore hope and inspiration, as Anneloes said. The way I got involved intimately is I heard the call to collaborate with the author Anne Baring on something we're calling the urgent call to all of humanity to end war and violence on the planet. But it began as an urgent call to mothers and grandmothers around the world to just say no, to say, as Anneloes said in her book, this stops now. Because the belief was that peace could happen if we would just finally say no. And so Anne Baring and I came together, and we've been hosting gatherings during the 99 Days of Peace to bring together peace initiatives that are happening, particularly woman-led, on the planet. But what we wanted to do was we wanted to be under the umbrella of EARTHwise, because as you can see, every individual that's a part of this is bringing their own piece of the puzzle into this collective action. And so we wanted to be part of that. So we're under this umbrella of EARTHwise with this initiative. And the way we're incorporating it into our gatherings is that we begin each meeting with an activation of these pledges or these commitments, as have been referred to. So for each of the 4 gatherings, we're taking 4 of the pledges. And they're so powerful in just using them almost as an activation or a transmission, answering the call, being a steward for thrivability, upgrading ourselves and the way we play the game of life, and then finally becoming the new worlds. So I offer this in hopes that you will say yes as well. If you haven't already jumped in with a great big yes, you will do so. And I had a conversation with Anneloes by text today that this game that she's talking about is amazing. Me, the technology can scare me because it's just, it can be overwhelming because that's just not my place. So, but I'm saying, please don't let that or any piece of this that might feel a bit overwhelming or I'm not yet there, don't let it stop you from engaging, because it's only through the engagement that we understand what we are all co-creating.
That is so true. Thank you for the very important and grounding and centering message, because that's it. It's remembering all of us as well, right? The living constitution of the universe is inside us. Yeah, and that's our direct connection also with the greater consciousness. So start co-creating with that constitution, the constitution of who you are, and which is also the potential for our evolutionary next step. So that is great. Thank you so much, Liz. Who would like to share or any questions? Don't be shy.
Hello, I'm Krista Demmel. I live in Washington State, in rural Washington, and I have been reading your books, The Quest of Rose, and will be joining you in September along with Laura George, the Peace Pentagon. I'm really grateful for the work that you've done. This brings me so much hope, and honestly makes me feel like I'm not losing my mind because of all the downloads I started getting in 2020 that just line up so perfectly with the foundation that you've built. I thought that I was going to have to build that, and I was like, I don't know how to do this, universe. And so when I discovered the game, I just was like, oh, like I can just plug in and do what I've been inspired to do. And I just feel like I can breathe, because I was like, I don't know how to do all of this. And I was so intimidated and overwhelmed. And so thank you for getting this started and getting it going and doing what needed to be done so that I can bring my piece. And I just see endless possibilities with this. I couldn't be more excited and so grateful to be a part of this evolutionary process. So grateful, so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I can't wait to learn about your evolutionary piece. And that's exactly the spirit of what this is. It's about all of our genius joining in together, because many of us here have been getting these kind of downloads, this vision of this greater possibility. And trust me, like you, I've been going, no. Where do we even begin? Yeah. How do we take the first step, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we're doing that. We're all doing that together. And I really believe that there's like an intelligence of the universe where it has spread its wisdom and the architecture through all of us, so that by design we have to come together. We have to come together to unlock the greater potential and start to understand the piece that we've each been given for the whole. So thank you so much, and really looking forward to being with you in person very soon.
I'll be brief, but I have a tenant who lives in my home who is employed by IBM. Actually, he's an analyst for IBM, but he is a gamer. And I went into his apartment yesterday, and he's got screens all over the place. And I said to him, you know, I am a novice. I know nothing about gaming. I have never gamed in my life. And we started talking, and I started telling him about this game that is in the stages of creation, being birthed. And he said to me, you know, the whole gaming community is so toxic. Everything is negative. Each game is negative, and the whole community is negative. And I said, well, this is this is different, because this is bringing positivity into the gaming world, and it's aimed at younger people primarily. And he said to me, he said, well, I want to meet this woman, so I will arrange this. And I also want to say that I am, you know, my way of working on this is to really create a vehicle for contributions to come in through perhaps a giving circle model. And so anybody that is interested in that might want to, you know, connect with me. And I'll give you my email is rab@bovaenterprises.com. And Bova is BOVA. Thank you.
I am so grateful for the way you've stepped into leadership here and what you're initiating with these giving circles, because that is, to me, that's just perfect, because it's through that impulse of the giving and the giving further, and then working with our collective wisdom and doing this together, that we are catalyzing.
Thank you.
Change. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I remember a while back, and I can't remember what webinar or situation it was in. Well, first of all, just a little background. When we're going through the times that we're going through, and people keep, you know, almost everybody, when they start to talk, they talk about how bad things are, how ridiculous things are on this planet right now. And there seems to be an overwhelming amount of people who claim that we need to go through the hard times in order to get to the good times. And there was a comment or something going on about that. And you, Anneloes, took exception to that. I think part of your statement was, well, what if the hard times kill you? And I'm really thought, I mean, I really support that, because I don't like the idea of feeling that I have to go through bad times to get to the good times. That doesn't make sense to me to say that something has to happen that I would just as soon not happen. Not that it won't, but I don't want to assume it's gotta. So anyway, I'm kind of curious as to whether or not that kind of philosophical thing enters into your constitution, or how it does, or.
Absolutely. And Jack, you're spot on. And because that is the one belief system of humanity I do not agree to and will never endorse, the belief that, you know, no pain, no gain. I think that's our worst thought, collective thought that we've ever produced. Because as long as we keep believing that, we're going to make it hard for ourselves and for everyone else. And there's no need. We can activate that love directly. And I know for myself, I don't learn well when I'm in pain and I'm shocked and I'm in fear. I contract. So yeah, but whereas when there's adventure and there's joy and there's curiosity, and there's warmth, there's love, there's fun, I expand. Learning comes easy. So, and I think that's really, we're designed for joy, for love and community, not for all the suffering. So yeah, where this serves really in the Constitution is especially in the commitments, when we're saying we're opting out of the systems that harm, and we're opting into the systems that are really helping us to thrive, trusting it also in our humanity. So that it's there to me, underlying in so many different ways. It's also in the vision. And it's indeed, that's also why with the 5 future archetypes, that the premise is that our potential for our evolutionary next step, our imaginal potential of who we can become, our future becoming, it's already here within us now. And so it's not like everything has to collapse, everything has to go wrong, everything, and then we'll wake up, and then maybe after a great void, yeah, exactly. No, it's, you know, start calling it in, start relating with it, start bringing that forth, yeah, and that's yeah. So thank you so much for presencing that, because fully agree.
Right.
Great. I'm really happy that I am here, because I did have this running instinct before I joined here. It's part of the small self, you know. And this meeting, hearing all of you, make me again feel connected to a broader world, and to the future that I have seen many times in different series already, but still from the mind sometimes not 100% believing. And what I also want to say is I feel this future is coming, is on its way, and it is exactly like what Janice has said before, to bridging all the wisdom with the past wisdom with the nature, hearing it, connecting it also to this new management series, like Stewards, like humanism, Buddhism. I think we need to collaborate some way, so that it is possible to make it really like in nature, like what beforehand Alexander was saying, this living nature. I myself still have personal have some issues making this future happening to myself in my life first, but I feel really beautiful to be with all of you today, and I hope to see you very soon at other occasions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for trusting yourself with the future that is trusting you with it. Yeah. Yeah. Trusting yourself with the future, it's trusting you with it. Yeah. So thank you for the future human journey that you're walking, and also your courage within the opening and the discovering, and everything.
Thank you.
Yes.
Maybe one other sentence. As a young person, I'm 24, and I think one issue that stopped me sometimes to connect with my heart is my generation is still focused more on outside world, and the media is still more in that direction, either in China or in Europe where I'm living.
Yes,
it is still a minority. It is a very small minority that really being able to connect with and speak in the public. So that is one thing I also want to point out, because actually it is the young generation that create the future, and also the need of the economic system.
Yes.
In somehow. So
yes,
I
agree. That's why I'm so grateful that you're here, because a lot of this work is we're doing it for your generation. Yeah.
For my generation, but we are also, I hope really that more of my my friends
takes interest. Yeah. Yes. Well, please tell your friends, and that applies to you as well. We've always made it a policy at EARTHwise that we provide free scholarships to all of our online courses for youth. Many don't know that. So you contact me and I'll give you free access. Yeah. You may choose any it can be the leadership class, future humans class, catalyst course. That's with me and Jean Houston. But I've made it a point that I always want to make sure that your generation can have free access to the wisdom and support that you need, and that finance should never be a barrier. Okay, so that's my gift to your generation, and you can tell your friends that as well, so they're welcome here. So
okay, I will do that. Thank you, Anneloes. Thank everyone.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I think it was a wonderful synchronicity that Fan spoke right before I did, because we are right now have a Lakota girl from the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, and we've been homeschooling through last year, and we started to call it Turn on a Dime Year, and Toad, that comes out as Toad, because we had to be so flexible and agile to catch, oh, we're supposed to be doing this and we're supposed to be doing that, and we have solo bikes, but we also have a tandem. And hearing about the free scholarship, what we've realized is last year was a turn on a dime year, and she said this year is an accelerator year. So the possibility that we could have free scholarship to access some of the courses is really fabulous. Absolutely. I'll just say that I learned about this Zoom call at the 11th hour from one of our women risers, and she had just pinged me and said, what do you think about this? And I had read through, there are so many threads lit up on the motherboard right now going back through a generation for me, that this just like landed right like in there, like it the way it's lit up. So I'll just say that Great Questions Foundation was started by 3 women because they did an exhibit called Continuum, and they had it in the LA Science and Tech Museum, and it became the most viewed exhibit of anything they ever had. It went on for a year, and then it went all across the country into the Smithsonian, and finally a donor made it so that it could be permanently housed in Minneapolis in the Continuum Center, which it is to this day. And it was about consciousness, and it struck such a chord across America that just really fabulous. So it's in the Continuum Center, but besides that, in the Continuum Center is the Edward Curtis exhibit of all his amazing photos of Indigenous people. And the curator has made it a halfway house for Native men coming out of prison. They come to the Continuum Center and they're coached how to be curators of their own people. Anyway, that just came very spontaneously, but I'm really, really happy to be here and to have connected with you all. There are so many threads of connection. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, for showing up, and do reach out for me for the scholarship also for the young woman that you are guiding, so we can support her.
Thank you. And just the connection to Daman her, Laura George, and to Barbara Marx Hubbard, just all of it.
Oh, wow. You see how the cosmos is weaving us together.
Yes.
Like a basket. That's the family.
Like a basket, indeed, like a basket.
That's great. Thank you. Antoinette. Great to see you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. You know, a lot has happened since we saw each other in Sedona. And it took me on another journey, you know, with my healing.
Yes.
With some friends of mine, you know, is 3 celebrations of life, and then 3 new diagnoses with people with having less than 1 year. And I remember what you said to me, you know, heal this planet, heal yourself. And at that time, we had gone back to Africa to sit there and finish up some other work that we were doing in Burundi and Kenya, which leads me to the thing about like Fan and myself, because part of my name is the Roots daughter. And the roots was getting back to my roots in a way that it wasn't just the roots, it was my cultural roots, my African roots and my Chinese roots, that it was learning about how I was able to learn about self-healing. I'm learning, still learning. And then the roots part of the earth as well too. Everything is all connected. And then on top of that, when I came back, I also noticed, because, you know, we have 31 acres of land here in Southern California. You know, Mother Nature has blessed us with water, but we're also fighting like
a lot of elements here in California. So that's like a very, very, why this is so important, why we get this message out there, because California is supposed to be the top when it comes to environment and other things, but it's actually, there's a lot of things going on. But I also wanted to mention to Karina, because you're in Santa Cruz, I was just there this weekend. And my friend Tay Lyon, he was the one who did the Black Lives Matter thing right there on the boardwalk there. There's still issues that people are not addressing. And this is something that I'm noticing every time I'm stepping into these rooms. Me and Fan should not be the only people of diversity in any of these rooms. It's like, Pato, 1 second, please. Yes, I am. And it's like, it's very, very important, because for Fan and her fellow students, because I know exactly what she's talking about. I know exactly what she's going through, because I went through it myself. And part of this trauma is the trauma and the drama that leads to illness, sickness, and disease later, because it stores in our DNA. It carries on with us. So part of the responsibility that everybody is taking on, because I see the excitement that everybody has about picking up the mantle, about how we're going to move forward. So one of my things that is my ask is that and I love the AI images, because when I saw the game, I was like, girl, yes, finally we've got it, because I'm all into the gaming and the adventures and the good guys and the bad guys and everything. But one of the things that I've noticed with AI, and I'm begging people, please make diverse pictures in AI, because what I'm seeing is with all these people putting stuff out there, this is heaven. Everybody blonde-haired and blue-eyed. It's just a world full of white people in this new earth. And all the advertisements and all the everything else of this new earth, this is what I'm seeing everywhere.
That's true, because when I've been working with the images, I have to add mixed color. I actually have to, by design, because if I don't do it, the AI will give that in that very stereotypical way. So yes, I am with you on that.
So it's the responsibility of the individuals who are using all these things of the new technology. It's just to think about other people that we want to include as well too, because we all have to be in it. We want as we're moving into the future, the new day is dawning. It is coming. I am totally confident. I'm not worried at all. I'm just saying, if we can move things a little bit speedier, if we just start to open up ourselves and open up to other people and getting other people, involved with us and stuff. So I support this 100%. I would love for you guys to be partnering with us as well too, because I love the work that you're doing. And I'm looking for advice on this, because like I said, we're dealing with an environmental thing. I took Janice and all them on a tour. I showed them where they cut off the mountains. They're shaving them off. They are mining. They want to mine another 800 acres right around where we are. And I don't have anybody to sit there and help me say, like, how can we at least, stop or get the knowledge or the sharing or whatever, like getting the community together, because I know that what we can do with these 30 acres, can sit there, set an example worldwide of what sustainability can look like, environment can look like, the medicines that we can grow, how we can help each other, how we can educate, how we can share. It's like we can do this with the spirit of cooperation with everybody else. So I'm going to be at the Parliament World's Religion next week. If anybody is going to be there, please link up with me. We're going to talk about Ubuntu, the environment, wellness, health, everything that EARTHwise is all speaking about, and we just really want to partner up and line up with everybody who sees our vision and alignment the same way, because the mother is coming and she's coming very loudly, she's letting people know. I'm like, look at the floods. She's telling you, I'm telling you, wake up and pay attention. We could either go this way or that way, but I see the future is very, very bright when we do come together. So thank you, Annalise. I really, really appreciate everything that you're doing.
Dito, I'm with you. Yes, for the partnership, everything that you said, you let us know how we can support. Also, I'd like to invite you, because you've got such an amazing musical genius, if there's a way that you can actually help create that kind of cover song for the Constitution, so bringing in that diversity and inclusion. And
I'm working on it.
Yeah?
I'm working on it. I've been feeling you ever since that time in Sedona.
Yeah,
I said we are going to
and I mean, also with the game, because I love to actually have your voice and your vibe in the game as well. So there's a full invitation.
Can I play the game too then? So I can play the game with you guys.
Of course, yeah. Yes.
Awesome. All right. I'm going. I love it. I love that. I've been looking for, because the first game I played that was something like that was like, it was a Chinese game. It wasn't a Chinese game, but it was like a Chinese story. It was called Jade Empire. And when you take the character, you could choose good or bad. So you could be the bad guy or the good guy, but either way, all the quests is all about your missions. So the thing is, if you're going to finish your mission, do you get sidetracked by helping everybody else? Do you stay focused? Do you do different things? And it was really a humanity. It looked inside your humanity on how you play the game.
That's it.
You know, so, and plus that, I was like, I wish.
And with AI,
thank you for doing
and with AI tools that you can actually create your own avatar. So you can make it in whatever color, you can change color. Yeah, exactly. We want it to be colorful and inclusive, future humans. Thank you so much, sister. Thank you. Now I'm aware that is Dorothy there. So I'll very, very brief, because then we I want to be inclusive, and then we're really coming to the end.
Hello everyone. I'm very Anneloes. I'd like to know whether your future human intensive course is going to come to Europe as well at one.
Yeah, I would. Yes, that's a good idea. If there are enough people participating, yes. So yes, any specific that would probably be in the Netherlands, if people would be willing to travel there. Yes, but that's
cool. Yeah, it's closer than the US. Okay, thank you.
Yes, that is great. Thank you. What a good idea. Yes, fantastic.
I would just love to say I love what you're doing, and I love the idea of interconnectedness and what we're all working for. And I just want to speak as somebody who's painted for many years, and now has been writing, just the interconnectedness and the organicness and that which is precious about our humanity. And I feel the big thing that we're dealing with a lot of fascism tendencies coming up in the world. And
yes,
I just want to see us keep an emphasis on that inner spark that we each have, and have a movement of awareness worldwide to create that consciousness, that reverence for that in all of us, in every human being. And it's also the part of us that connects with nature. We have a unique responsibility in our consciousness and awareness. And so that idea that awareness can be an actual consciousness, is an actual energy that can transform and manifest on a physical way. So I'd like to see us see it integrating, and as you've talked about, Anneloes, into economics and politics and everything, that emphasis on the inner organic in us. And that I just read today, for example, they have to put it in science, but it's common sense that kids do much better if they're positives. I think it's 7 positives that counteract the 7 adverse ACEs. Now they've just come up with PCEs or something, positive circumstances. I mean, this is total common sense. Yeah. And I've just been advocating, not very publicly, but just I feel so deeply that in everything we do, education, work, politics, international relations, we just have to put our communication, our common humanity, our common need for security and inner well-being, and have that right up there along with our earth consciousness. And somehow I just hope that there can be a conscious raising to get even businesses, to move out of and make laws that will ban exploitation, that will mandate fair wages, that will mandate healthy work conditions, and not just basic income universal wide, but a basic standard of living worldwide.
Yes. We're working on
individuality.
We're working on it.
That's my vision.
Yes.
That's my vision. So thank you.
Fully support that, fully aligned. Thank you so much, and a perfect message to really do now complete this. I want to first of all thank the wonderful EARTHwise stewards here for their incredible wisdom and holding and everything that they are doing. For all of you here who've joined us today, thank you so much for your voices, for your wisdom, for who you are in this world. And with that, I'd like to complete this session in gratitude. Let's all just unmute so we can hear each other's voices as we say goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye. Woo.
Thank
Bye.
you. Lots of love.
Lots of love.
Hey, everybody.
Building a new world. We are.
Well, that's it.
We are weaving it together. Beautiful cosmic blanket.